it's impossible to because your
very
first
hard.
experience you never get again, and so people chase that.
Hey, everybody, welcome to What's Your Point Overtime.
You
This
didn't
is where
announce
it
it.
really goes down,
Yeah.
where it really happens.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah, I have so many parents whose children athletics, and they go to the doctor, and then they prescribe this for pain, and then they're hooked. There's just, and as you said, that first experience is what you chase, and that's all you chase.
Well, and the problem
I used to have a standing breakfast with a former judge in Harris County, and we talk every morning. We talk about different issues, and one day we didn't see eye to eye, and I remember looking up at me like in disbelief when I shared with her that there is no more drug activity in the Black neighborhood than there is in the white community if you look in the right place.
The right places.
I told you know what I said.
You're exactly
I said
right.
if you were to go downtown, I said we have people who patrol Alabama, Truxillo, all these streets in Third Ward all day looking for dope. If you put the same type of detail in the Chase Tower, going up to the 60th floor, looking for prescription drugs that are being used illegally or cocaine being used illegally, then you would find where you dedicate your effort to find, you doggone sure gonna find something. What they're saying?
Go trolling through some of the parking lots in our high schools. Go to the parking lots of some of our high schools with for that the drug activity that goes on. You're right.
Yeah, go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, Gary spends a lot of time in criminal court.
Yeah, and here's the bottom line. You know, you're right. The criminal court just shows us the illegal drugs and the illegal drug problems that come into the system. And though, to the credit of our current district attorney and the last district attorney, we have a lot of diversion programs for people who come into the system for using illegal drugs. But I think that your report, Greg, really hit the nail on the head. The biggest problem in America is not illegal drug use. It's legal drug use abuse. That's what the problem is. And you got doctors, and part of the thing is, one of my big gripes, and I know this would hurts Fox, why do we have prescription drug commercials on television? What is the point of all that? And when I ask doctors, they say, well, we have clients come in and they ask for whatever this drug is, it's advertised because they like the ad. The doctor says, well, why do you think you need it? And their response is, well, I like the advertising. So they advertise prescription drugs. They put them in magazines. I mean, this stuff is insane. And the doctor and the pharmaceutical companies, at least when I've heard how they do it, they have young, pretty women who are their pharmaceutical reps who come, and they used to pay doctors to do this stuff. Now they take them to dinner and do other things. And the doctors don't necessarily know what they're even prescribing when they give this drug. So my personal example, I had hernia surgery about a decade ago. The doctor gave me a pain medication. I didn't ask for pain medication. So I take the first pill after the anesthetic wore off the next day, and my head was spinning like a top. I mean, it was unbelievable. So I go use the bathroom and hurl, and I called the doctor's office and I said, I feel awful. I took this pain medication, my head's spinning. And the response was, well, if you don't mind the pain, you don't need to take the medication. Well, I took that medication and got rid of it. I didn't take it ever again. And I understood, and by the way, I don't know who would like to have their head spinning taking this garbage, but whatever, some people might. But it explains to you what's going on. So no one ever talked to me about, do I need a painkiller? And I didn't. Yeah. I mean, I can handle it, but think about what they're doing over the overall population. And they're basically, as Marcus has said, they're making a bunch of drug addicts, legal drug addicts.
And you know, and you know what, Gary, I will tell you, 90% of what you said was spot on. I think your head was spinning because you didn't have breakfast, man. You need to stop and eat. Stop and eat breakfast. Stop passing up the restaurant. You should have come and had some grits.
Yeah, that would have helped.
And you know, parents keep these in their medicine cabinets. They don't lock it up. Like you'd say, lock up guns because you'll be hurt. You know, somebody will get killed. Well, guess what? These things in your medicine cabinet will kill just as easily.
They will. And Gary,
you locking them up.
I was being funny, but that was something that you said that I want to address. The abuse of legalized drugs is our problem,
That's
which is in fact illegal. All right.
Yeah.
Actually, more people die from the legal use of prescription drugs than die
Right.
from firearms in this country.
Right.
Wow.
But going back to what Sue said, when this happened, when it happened and they gave me the medicine and I didn't take it, Lauren was telling one of her friends about it. They was asking, ask your mama how much she want for them. And Lauren was like, what? And Lauren, I was like, you ain't getting shit from me. First off, I'm offended that you would even ask me. Open Mama Bell, they sell them here in Lamar. I said, well, you ain't finna get them from me. And I'm telling you, it was a conscious decision that I made because I'm like, I don't want to get hooked on anything. I'd heard stories about how people had toothaches and they gave them this oxycodone. And then I heard about the Vicodin. And that was the one they had given me. And I'm like, oh no, hell no, taking that stuff. My mother ended up having to have emergency surgery because the pain she experiencing was an infection in her shoulder and that they had to do an irrigation and get the infection. They gave her tramadol. Okay, my mother is already getting ready for brain surgery. If she screaming, she hurting, her ass get a Tylenol. Take a nap, mama. Go on, take a nap. Okay, baby, she'll be all right. Because I don't want my mama at 78 getting hooked on a damn thing. And it scares the hell out of me how easy, because you don't know what people's nature is to get hooked on something. You know, my mother never drank in her life. My mother never smoked in her life. I mean, it is frightening because just like you said, Gary, they send you home with this stuff. They don't tell you that you can get addicted. They don't have any of that on there. And I don't know who watching them damn pharmaceutical commercials because that damn stuff, you listen to how it make you feel good, but then that soft whispering voice make side effects such as blindness,
They cause your left ear to fall off. You're writing novels fall off. And then
I was like, celibacy. It can cause all kind of side effects. When you hear that little soft whisper voice, you shouldn't want to take none of that shit because they always got that little soft.
And let's. I'm sorry, Greg. One more thing. Let's talk about how high up this goes, right? Because we're talking about the effects on people who get it, right? But we got to go back to the United States Congress. We got to go back to the legislature. We've got to go back to the lobbyists. We've got to go back to who controls our government, which is big business, putting their money in the coffers of United States congressional representatives and senators and allowing this to happen. If you think back to a couple of years ago, what's the guy's name who used to run the DA? Joe Ranasasi or something like that. He did a big interview on 60 Minutes about all of the complicit behavior in the United States Congress, all the way, including a bill where the DEA was finding drugs, they were finding fentanyl and these things in warehouses because they were stopping crates and they were opening. And guess why they stopped? Because Congress passed legislation that said you can't do that. Go back and check it out. This was about 5 years ago, 2017, 2015, something like that. But Congress actually passed legislation that told the DA they can't go in these warehouses and open these crates.
Bob kind of nailed it. And we had a little pre-show conversation about this, but you know, just imagine hypothetically, if you could divert 2% of your production into the black market, the money's untraceable. I mean, you could turn everything around. I mean, and it plays to the worst parts of the human condition: greed and fear. Fear, you're not making enough money. Greed, it's just all out there. The market is out there. I mean, Bob, you know, I would assume that this money, the revenue stream from this, I mean, you have any idea? Have you any of your law enforcement sources talked about this?
Well, it's not just the greed of this one company. It's the greed all across the board on this. When you look at the northern portion of Mexico, where the drug cartels just control everything because they make so much money off of smuggling drugs and smuggling human beings that they can pay off anybody they want to pay off. You've got governors of Mexican states that are getting put in U.S. prisons because of the corruption that's inherent in this entire process. And that's where the real control issue is in this, is the governments that are complicit, including our own government that's complicit because of what Marcus just talked about. It's staggering. And, you know, the temptation with Border Patrol agents, you know, you see Border Patrol agents that get convicted every once in a while for being corrupt, local law enforcement officials. It's The money is astronomical. When the federal government can seize $1 billion worth of drugs from one shipment, and that doesn't even phase the cartels.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the money we're talking about here. It's unthinkable, unimaginable to get your head around the kind of numbers. Imagine if you were running any other kind of business and you could afford to lose $1 billion worth of your product, and it doesn't even hit your bottom line.
Well, well, Bob, you got to think about it like this: when your partner is a multi-billion-dollar maker of the drug, then you have no problem, right? When you've got endless access to the manufacturers, these big drug companies, to the manufacturers of this dope, and you've got endless access to the legislation that will protect you. Yeah, I lost a shipment, but it's all good. I got another one. It's like your kid.
When
It's like
they
your kids
figure
spending
out
money
they
because
can
know
make
your
Mark,
daddy-
when it
your daddy's
turns
pocket is
and you
empty.
can make more money,
They tell the chip go that way so they can get.
blocking.
Let me go back to this just a second. Something I alluded to on the show that really needs to be expounded on is the Chinese connection and all of this. When you look at the money, at the chemicals that are being sent from China to Mexico, precursor chemicals that are used by the cartels to manufacture these counterfeit drugs, pills that look just like Oxycontin, look just like fentanyl, that's all coming from China. And this is their war against the United States. Many more people than have been killed by COVID, which also, by the way, came from China, were killed by these drug overdoses across the country. So why are we allowing China to remain in most favored nations trading status? Why are we allowing them and not putting sanctions in place against them for this war against the American citizens that is just creating fatalities ad nauseum because of these products that are being across the border? Most of the drugs that are shipped into the United States are coming in through the legal ports of entry. They're not coming across being backpacked by mules, people being smuggled into the country. Marijuana is, but not these deadly drugs that are coming across. And we've got to get better at detecting this stuff. We've got to get better at enforcing it, and we're losing the war on this issue.
Well,
And we're
the
not
Chinese
even
buy
China.
influence. They buy influence.
And as Sue says, we got to start providing more affordable, effective rehab.
Okay, wait a minute. But
Well,
let's
just places where you can go detox.
I think-
Let's go back to what Gary just said about buying influence. Okay, it's funny you said that, Gary. Okay. How many of y'all know what an EB-5 visa is?
I do.
Okay. That country, China, does more than any other country in the world in America. Okay. And several other people have been highly connected to exactly what Bob is saying, owning companies that make those kind of products to Mexico and human trafficking. Now, you all have talked about a whole lot of stuff locally, but y'all ain't talked about stuff that really need to be talked about. Okay. At Houston Community College, for those of you all who don't know, they're in a beyond a catastrophe, number one. The board chair had to quit. He had to resign, and they had to get another board chair because videos, audio tapes of him allegedly sexually harassing this lady came out with him on video doing all kind of unsavory things, board meetings, okay? Then the reason they said that he said he could do this was because the chair, the president of HCC, Ronaldo, was allegedly having an affair with Melissa Gonzalez, Ed Gonzalez's wife, okay? And that when it came out and they got caught at the Four Seasons Hotel and HPD showed up because the Four Seasons called the police, the HPD was like, okay, we're gonna bag out of this because Ed Gonzalez with several of his deputies, and they were like, okay, this is really embarrassing because he had his wife there with Maldonado. So they let HCC handle the investigation. Well,
what does this have to do with human trafficking?
Supposedly, when they were doing the investigation, she had to give a statement about what happened. In her statement,
That's it. Yeah.
He said that, yes, he caught me. Yes, he came to the hotel. He's filed for divorce, but he beat my ass. Okay. Apparently that didn't come out till they saw her. And so people at when this all weeks ago, they were like, hold on, wait a minute. Okay, we didn't know about the part with the spousal abuse. Well, the union for ICE was like, we don't want him no way, because he gave EB-5s. He's in support of EB-5s. He's always been in support to people who we really question whether they should be from China. So that union went against him. Then the AFL-CIO said, you know what? He ain't even for the union. So the AFL-CIO went against him. This is a national office that is being affected by something that happened here at little bitty community college. He only got approved by 7-6 in the Senate. His confirmation is one they said the vice president may have to confirm, because all going on at HCC, not to even talk about the fact that there were already allegations against the president, racist decisions that he made, and the fact that made up their fifth sexual harassment case. They settled the other 4. The state of Texas has a law that if you are at a public institution, university, community college, or whatever, and you know or hear about sexual harassment and you do nothing, your ass is to be fired. He fired the chief of police that was their chief of police at HCC, because one of his deputies had been sexually harassing a lady, and he knew. This is something that I'm telling you, this is affecting all colleges, all pre-college courses. This has the repercussions of this, because everybody can't afford to go straight into a 4-year college. So HCC is their only way to get into college. And the way they've said this man is governed around these racist, sexist levels is affecting Yates, Sterling, Madison, for all these different schools. And I'm telling you,
so bottom line is, what's the solution?
The solution need to go, but then the people really need to look at whether this stuff they're saying about Ed is true or not, because anybody who says initially think he was a shoo-in, they lied. They thought he was a shoo-in. And then all this stuff came out, and then they put a pause on it, and then they were like, hold on, wait a minute. Because when the FBI come to you, they ain't coming to you looking for a damn thing. They just coming to you to see if you're gonna lie or not.
Well,
Hey, we're about halfway. Okay.
Yeah.
We're about halfway through overtime, and I want to, Bob, if you have something real quick to say, I'll let you know. This is kind of freewheeling here, but I'd like to move on to a different topic real quick.
Okay, so real quick, the reason that Ed Gonzalez is not going to be the next director of ICE is because the left wing of the Democrat Party doesn't want him to be the director of ICE, because he would not end the 287G cooperation agreements between the sheriff's departments and the federal government. That's why the Democrats don't want him in there, and that was the end of his nomination.
Okay, I want to go to our poll today. Like, over 80% of the folks said yes, they would welcome this new level of transparency offered by the city's elected financial watchdog. Why is it being held up, Sue Lovell? What's the real story?
I said it. You know, what are you hiding, and what don't you want us to know? I mean, it's not a Rubik's Cube problem at all. When you're not afraid of what people can see and how you've spent money and where it's gone, then you're more than happy. It's like, you know, when your kids are playing, what are you doing that you can't keep the bedroom door open? So, and hey, why are you closing the door? What are you doing that you don't want everybody else to see? You know, and why are you going to such measures to do so? I mean, it's almost extraordinary measures, because you don't want to see what's going on. You know, and I'd like to call on our controller made a statement, but come on, Chris, that's what you're elected to do, is be the watchdog. And if you can't find out and you can't tell us, then we're in real deep trouble here. So I'm calling on the controller to get in the middle of this and stand up for the citizens. You're the watchdog, and take a real stand, and city council too. You should
I have a
want
question on that, Sue.
Yeah.
If the city controller is an independent elected official, how can the mayor shut
Stop 'em.
down a website that he wants to put up? Why can't he use his
Just
funds
do
in
it.
his office to
Because
put
he
up a
does it. He
website?
does it, and he dares you to go against him.
Hey,
So
Bob,
he's
it's
a
kind
coward,
of
is what
like
you're saying.
it's kind of like that agency we were just talking about, where the governor gives you their recommendation or their opinion, but I'll be damned if you don't do what the governor would opinion
Well, now
is.
Chris Brown,
Same with the
he
mayor.
can do whatever he wants to do.
He can.
If
And
he's
now is the
afraid of
time.
he's
Like
afraid
every
of the
time.
dictator. He's afraid of
Well-
the dictator, Turner. That's the bottom line. He ought to stand up, show that he's a man, and tell Turner we're going to do it anyway.
Gary.
But the fact he hasn't tells
afraid.
you, add him to the list of people that need to go. If you're not going to stand up and do your job, get the hell
Right.
out.
He is gone.
Quit.
He's trying to run for mayor himself.
Oh,
Okay.
please.
He's
You
out.
know.
His term is
Well,
up.
everybody
This is-
needs to quit looking at the next race they want to run for.
And
Right.
that's just what they keep
Business,
looking at. Sue.
what the business is here. And this is really, this is a time for Chris to stand up and for the citizens and say, I'm the controller, I'm elected to be your watchdog. This is
Right.
unacceptable. We're not going to accept this. And truthfully, it's time for council members to do the same thing. But
I was
as
about
the
to say,
mayor
yeah,
said,
Chris
don't
is
I
the
give you what
collective
you
watchdog.
want?
Right.
Don't
Chris is
don't
the
you come
collective
to
watchdog,
me?
but the single member district representatives are the watchdog for each and every one of those
Supposed to be.
districts.
You're
Well, they
right.
should
And that's
step
why
it
you
up.
have at-large members, because they're
Yeah.
supposed to watch out for the city. Because district council members watch out for their district. What council members, I was at large, my job was to look out for all of the
Right.
city.
But
And
Sue,
again, it goes back to the mayor said it all at that meeting. Don't I give you what you want? Don't I
were you
don't I
there?
give
Were
you what you
there?
come to me for?
But Sue, were you
Yeah,
there?
Dude,
these
you got
are
that down pat.
elected
You must have watched that
officials,
15 times.
elected by the
No.
people standing there going to the mayor. Oh, yeah, you do. When I come
Please
to you,
let me
you give
have
me what I
another.
want.
All
Please
the
let
Oh,
me
votes.
have
come
another.
on.
But Sue,
You
were
know,
you at
but-
the
This is
meeting?
Chris moment. This is Chris Brown's moment.
Yeah,
Everybody
he's-
in elective office has their moment. Do you stand up? Do you do what's right? And this should really be Chris Brown's moment to
And we'll
stand
see
up.
what he does. We'll see if he does.
Unfortunately,
Were
Sue,
you there?
Hold on,
unfortunately-
hold on. Y'all all talking at once.
Were you there, Sue? Did you attend the meeting or were you on the Zoom?
I was watching on Zoom.
Okay. What bothered me was when Kubosh spoke up and people tried to this. That I didn't like that at all.
People try
Well,
to do what?
this, I'll show you what this vote
You
was.
broke up,
We already knew what
Carl,
the
we didn't hear
vote,
what you said.
what the votes were. This is what you call, Marcus will like this. This is called a true color vote. This is not about the end the vote. We pretty much knew we didn't have 2021. Could have had 2022, but the mayor said it was illegal, which we don't think it is. So it's a true color vote. What are your true colors on this? What do you show? And people show, like, I didn't get any phone calls. Yeah, you did. We know you did. You got 400 emails, I never heard about this before. Yeah. So the true color is, what will you do? What is your true character to stick with the mayor, and what will you say? And then you really know what people are really about. Look, how do you do a vote and not turn your mic on? Well, we heard you, but true color, just flip the mic on and vote the way you want. And if you're sure about it, vote. So it was a true color vote. It was a way to look at everybody's kind of character, what they said, what they did, what kind of excuse they put up for why they didn't want to do. And those are always good things to have, because
Well, we didn't hear what you
hold on
said.
for a second. I wish somebody, one of the council members would say, I'm for the checkbook program, which is basically the program that other cities have that Controller Brown wants to implement here. Put it on, said, I'm going to go around to every member on the horseshoe and say, who's going to sign here? And maybe since the mayor claims he lets everybody get on the agenda what they need on the agenda. Sue, what do you think? How many people do you think would sign up and say, we need more transparency as provided by this particular website proposed by the controller? How many members of council would sign up for that and say, hey, we
Not a
have
majority,
here?
not a majority, not a majority.
Why?
No, because he's going to be there for at least 2.5 more years, and he's in control. And again, didn't you come to me, and didn't I give you what you asked me for? So, okay, so I want to get that left turn signal in my district, or I have this that I want to go through, or I don't want to be on the wrong side of you, because I've seen what's happened to people that are on the wrong side of you. I mean, I'm a good example of that. I'm on the wrong side.
All right, listen.
You know, my clients got calls that said I wouldn't use her at City Hall.
All right, well,
Iron-
listen,
So
let me tell
they
you.
see
Hold on,
those
hold on.
and they're like, I don't want to go there.
Hold on,
Go
Sue.
ahead, Tamara.
Okay. At that, what I saw of that meeting, okay, when Kubash said that the people have collected the signatures, this is the method that we use to get our ordinances changed or get things done, you know, and when you don't listen to the people, this is another way of silencing people's vote. And when I heard those council members try to imply that they had something racist, that this was had something to do with race, that really pissed me.
No, the suppression doesn't have to do with race. Look,
just saying,
there were people that stood for 7 hours at TSU or more to vote. Why are you making people wait 2 years?
I agree, because my point is this. When the people make a decision to use the method that you give them, how do I know about this? Because of the HERO ordinance, okay? When that came out and they wanted to say those votes didn't add up and all that, and they did add up, and it did get put on the ballot. But everything that they could try to do to keep it off, they did. We as a people, that is why we vote. You ain't gonna agree with everything, but the method to get it on the ballot is the same.
Well, on the HERO ordinance, actually, they had to go to the Supreme Court.
Here's a question. Where are the Democrats that flew all the way to DC to fight voter oppression with regard to denying this
They're still in DC.
to pushing it back 2 years, right?
Yeah.
So that's
it could have gone on in 2021.
These people signed up for what they wanted. Where are the Democrats that flew to DC to fight voter oppression?
Exactly.
When Tamisha Hudspeth had her power stripped away from her,
and Ann Bennett Harris, they didn't say shit.
Bennett Harris that the people voted for. Where are the Democrats that flew all the way?
Nowhere to be found.
Hey, I'm with you.
Against voter oppression. I don't understand this dog and pony show, this horse shoveling manure stuff. When you say you're against oppression, and then I write letters to or emails to my colleagues on the Democratic Party and say, well, what about this and what about that? And I was like, what about Harris County?
Silence.
Well, I don't know about that. So you telling me you only aware of oppression on the state level, but you're not aware of oppression or suppression on a local level?
Right. And you know, when you go out and get petitions in record time, and we brought in 40,000 signatures, we get it to the city secretary's office. It is slow walked and taken the longest possible time it can to get counted, 40 days. All right, you move along. And then the city secretary says that, yes, you have enough signatures. And then it's held for at least another 35 days to the very last date, very last council meeting, because the 16th on Monday is the cutoff to get something on the ballot. Oh, and next week is a break time for council, and you hold it then so that you have no recourse. Judicial recourse would be very difficult. You have no chance to go to the appellate court on it. I mean, if you don't call that oppressing people's right to a vote, when you manage and control the whole process, then hey, when it looks like it, it is.
Okay, everybody, I'm going to go back to a favorite component. Bob Price, Marcus Davis will remember this, and I'm trying to use it on overtime, which is the good old, what did we miss to close out this session? I'm going to start with you, Bob.
Well, one thing we didn't talk about today was the massive increase in numbers of people crossing the border illegally. Went up 12% from June to July, 400 and something percent over July of last year. 200,000 people illegally crossed the border into the United States. And when you factor in that 20 to 25% of those are infected with COVID and they're being held in enclosed facilities and not being tested and then transported across the entire United States, that's a very scary situation.
All right, Marcus, go ahead. As a senior member of the Watch Your Point staff.
Look, we talked about it, but the question is, what do we miss? I think we miss this idea that America spent $2 trillion in Afghanistan and did not spend that same money on education in the United States. I think we miss the fact that America spent $2 trillion in Afghanistan and won't spend that on incarceration in America, on employment in America, unemployment, insurance in America. I think we missed the fact that somebody got paid to build that $900 million embassy over in another nation. We need to follow the money. I think we
All right, I'm going to go to you, Gary Pollan.
Well, I think what we missed is that the Senate under Democratic leadership is poised to pass a $3.5 trillion additional human infrastructure bill by one vote. This is after they passed the $1.2 trillion alleged infrastructure, some of which is actually accurate. And it's all deficit spending because we don't have the money and they're not going to be able to pay for it. And I'm afraid if this thing passes, the country is then clearly on the road to financial ruin. And that is a scary thought that I don't think is getting the proper coverage.
Hey, I'm worried about inflation.
5%.
Look, you guys know I drink a little Keystone Light. In the last 3 months, the price has risen twice at Walmart.
What's
I don't
Keystone?
know what to do.
Okay. I know. Greg, I didn't know you were a Keystone Light guy.
Well, and the crazy spending in Washington is also aiding and abetting increased inflation. The actual inflation rate year to year, according to Shadow Statistics, which uses the old way we calculated inflation before we took out food and housing, is like 13%. And I think if you go shopping and see that, you know that's true.
Days.
Yeah, because in fact, the misery index under this president is going to be up at Carter's level by the time we get to 2022. My fear, and Bob will agree with me, that when the Republicans get into power again, are they going to do the things that need to be done to get the country on the right track, or we're just going to put the brakes on a little but continue on the road to ruin? That's the question.
They're going to do what they did when they had control before, when they spent the same amount of money, if not more, as this administration. That's what they're going to do.
It's my turn.
Tomorrow, go ahead.
Go ahead, tomorrow.
All right. Let me tell y'all what we missed. The evictions. All right. They're still getting this wrong. If they don't include the landlords, they were talking about how landlords are going to lose their property because they're not including them in the conversation. If you include the landlords and let it go through them first to the tenants, it will work better. But the way it's going, this is not going to work because whoever comes behind them can tear the whole damn thing down and then nobody will have anywhere to live. This is a critical part because when you have people evicted, that's when you get increases in everything you're talking about: crime, disease, all of that. So this is something that I feel we missed. In addition to that, September 1st, people who pay water bills, your water bill and your sewer bill are going to go through the roof because city council passed that. Now, I got the part about the sewer because they got sued by the EPA and they told them you neglected these neighborhoods. This your fine, so you got to pay this part. But wasn't damn thing wrong with the water. And that's going to go up 60% over the next 4 years. So you all watch and pay attention.
All right, Sue, we're going to close with you.
Sure. Number one, I think we forgot to thank all our first responders and people in our hospitals that during this surge are working. But most importantly, we forgot to talk about Field of Dreams, the most incredible baseball game in Iowa at a time when we needed something to bring us all together and feel good. Thank you so much, and thank you to the White Sox and the Yankees for an incredible game, an incredible moment during these times when it seems like everything is wrong. That was right that night.
Greg, I went there. I was at the Field of Dreams and I hit a home run into the corn. Just want to make that clear.
Don't even tell me.
I'm going to close this out by saying I'm thankful that I get to spend dozens of Sunday mornings with you guys and get paid
Back
for it
at you.
while delivering
Back to you.
truth and food for thought to the community I live in. I mean, it's a pretty good gig.
Absolutely the same.
Well, there's
here.
a lot going on.
Absolutely.
A lot going
Everybody
on.
have a great week.
Y'all
Thanks for
too.
joining us on
Take care.
Overtime. Facebook.
All right.
Marcus,
Hey,
enjoy your
Keystone
visit.
Light for
Estonians,
everybody.
open up your eyes. There's a bunch going on.